further ado, I want a big round of applause for Atlanta's own Miss Rhonda Thomas. Come on out here. This is going to be an awesome conversation because this is pretty much an ATL project. People from Atlanta who are here, who have been in this scene forever, who have produced, written, worked on this album, and of course, in 1996, we had this young lady come down, from Connecticut to be a true Atlanta peach now. You're now a peach. I know you call
I'm originally from New York.
I know you're originally from New York, New Jersey, but you've been here long enough.
No, you said Connecticut. I was there briefly.
Briefly. We're going to get to that in a little bit.
My bad.
But she's come down here and become, a part of us. I see Kari Cabrillo back there, who's one of the main producers on this album. A tremendous bassist. There's also Daz IQ, another one of the producers of this album. And we got Julius as well. So we'll get up to all that in a second. So let's sit down and have a conversation. Grab the mic and let's talk. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks for being here
and
doing this.
Oh, yeah. By hell or high water, I was going to get here. Had a little bit of traffic on 75, but I was going to get here. But let's talk about your start, because I don't know how many of you actually know Rhonda, the person. I'm sure some of you have seen her on stage and opening up for different artists and performing, but we want to get to know a little bit about her as a person and what got her started in music, and bring you all the way up to the new album. We have Vinyl Days right here. But yeah, you were born in Jersey, grew up in New York. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Wow. I turned a year old in New York, and I grew up in Roosevelt, the Velt. That's right, Maryland is from Roosevelt. I went to Roosevelt High School, the home of Eddie Murphy, Dr. J, Public Enemy, right?
Howard Stern.
Well, I left that out. Guy, that's right, Guy.
Yeah, Air Hall.
That's right. So it's a great lineage.
Yeah.
And I went to a senior high school. So it went from 7th grade to 12th grade. So I don't mean to tell my age, but when I was in 7th grade, Eddie Murphy was in 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
Right. Don't do the math. Don't you do it. And so what's interesting about that is I have classmates that I've known for years because there were only 3 elementary schools there.
Okay.
So I've known my classmates from kindergarten to 12th grade. And so it's just amazing.
Yeah, dope. Now let's talk about the beginnings, because it was an interesting story. I want you to talk about your father.
My dad?
Yeah. Talk a little bit about him and his heritage and how he was involved in music and kind of started that little thing for you.
Okay, I guess I can talk about him now because my mom's not here. They're divorced, so she must have stepped out. He's from Antigua, West Indies. He loved calypso and soca, but when he moved to New York, he really thought he was James Brown, for real. He dressed like James Brown. He tried to dance and do all of that stuff. And so he always played like War, like I said, James Brown, Parliament Funkadelic, all of that in the home. And he managed a group called the New York Soul Syndicate.
Right.
And they used to rehearse in the basement of our house.
Wow.
So I would just sit and listen to all that beautiful music and live horns and background vocalists, and I just soaked all of that up. And my mom used to play all of the jazz, the Nancy Wilson and Al Jarreau and the Sarah Vaughan. So I got a good mix of all of that.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Vesta was in that group?
Yes, Vesta was in that group. Robin S.
Wow.
You got to show me love. Right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right.
That was Vesta.
Yeah. So that's a lot of powerful voices to listen to at a young age.
Yes.
Is that really what sparked your music interest at that time?
I think so. My mom had me in dancing school forever.
Right.
I danced with the Dance Theater of Harlem's Children's Company and the Albanelli's Children's Company, and we would drive into Manhattan every weekend.
Okay.
And so once I really started singing, my mom was like, "We spent all this money on dance classes and now you're singing?" But I do remember when I was really young. Hey, Mom. And she knows this story well. I was in, I think, first grade, and my PE teacher was having a talent show. And I said, Mom, they're having a talent show at school. She said, well, you tell them you can sing. You go up to them and tell them you can sing. And I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. But in practicing the song, I remember us being in the living room, and my mom kept saying, no, go in the bedroom, sing louder, sing from your diaphragm. Then she said, go in the kitchen, I still can't hear you, sing louder, sing from your diaphragm. Then she had me go to the back porch, and the window's open. She said, sing from your diaphragm. And so I guess she was just trying to build it up.
Right.
And I would, yes. And whenever I had a cold or anything, she said, don't worry about the cold. You should be able to sing over that. Don't sing from your nose.
Right.
Sing from your diaphragm.
Nice. And so all that training that your mom did and being around your father and all that kind of stuff, you actually went to the Apollo, and you actually won amateur night at the Apollo at the age of 16.
I did.
Congratulations. Come on, man.
I remember my mom sitting in the audience and sitting around people and saying, don't boo my baby. Don't you boo her. Because they used to go to the Apollo just to boo you. They used to be up in the stands, and they would have pennies, and they would just throw pennies at you. And I sang Home from the Wiz, which again, I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow in that talent show in PE. So it kind of just came full circle.
So you go to Hampton. Anybody went to Hampton University here? Any Hampton? So I guess that's not the real HU. I know they're not the real.
Howard,
yeah, I know some Howard.
There's
a couple of Howard people in here. But you went to Hampton for a little bit, and then you left, and then you ended up going to CW Post. But here's what's interesting about that background. You actually have a master's in speech pathology.
I do.
You actually have a business in speech pathology.
I do.
Talk about that.
Okay.
That's really interesting.
I attended Hampton my freshman year because I guess I was just destined to do music. I was going to do music, but then I got to Hampton. Music is tough, y'all. They made me cut my nails, learn how to play the piano. I was a jazz vocalist major. They just gave me the music and said, all right, sing this line. Just sing it. And I was like, I need the note. I played clarinet in high school and college, clarinet and bass clarinet. So I could read the music playing an instrument, but to just play one note and then ask me to sing the line, whew, that was no joke. And so I would be the one in the classroom where I'd sing do 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 do, and then I didn't know the next note. I'd have to walk all the way across the room to the piano, press that note, and then come back and finish the line. It was just really hard for me. So Shonda, I know you know, and Kyrie, all you music majors, I bow down. I was a punk, but I decided to transfer and go to CW Post Long Island University, and I was going to minor in music and major in speech pathology. Speech pathology just took up so much time that I just made sure I kept singing.
Right.
And I sang in different choirs, different bands, majored in speech pathology, then went to grad school and got my master's in speech pathology. And I have a business called Communikids, and I work at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta a couple days a week, and then I have a private practice.
Wow.
Let me mention one thing really quick. So when people think speech therapy, they think just articulation or stuttering or a lisp, but I'm actually a feeding therapist. So I work with a lot of babies, 2-week-olders, and helping them to eat and drink from the bottle or nurse. So it's a specialty area. And I do the stuttering and the lisp and all that too. Okay, enough of that. Back to the music.
No, we gonna stay over there. Like, wait a minute. So you work with kids. I mean, so how does that work? If you have a baby that's an infant or a 2-week-old, and is it that they can't eat or can't feed or something like that? So how do you go about the business of getting them to eat or do things like that?
There's a lot of medically fragile children that might have heart defects, or they might not have a strong suck, or they might have reflux, acid reflux. And so they need certain bottles, they need certain nipples. They may be on a tube, a feeding tube, an NG tube, or a G tube. And so it's my job to find the right nipple, the right bottle to teach the parent how to properly nurse the child.
Oh, wow. That is interesting work. Yeah. So how do you balance, being a speech pathologist, having a business, and also performing and traveling and all that?
It must be because I don't have any kids or a husband. That's number one.
Yeah.
But no, really, my job is very supportive. I'm at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in Alpharetta on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
Full 10-hour days, sometimes 11 hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I see children privately. And so usually the weekends, I'm touring. So like when I would tour with Isaac Hayes for 11 years, we used to perform a lot on the weekends. And if I needed to take time off, I worked really hard at work. I make sure I'm doing my thing. I gotta represent for us and be on time, be early. If you're not early, you're late. And so make sure that I was an asset, or I am an asset to the company, so that when I'm gone, they really miss me. And when I need to go, they let me go.
Right. So let's talk about that. And I was going to get to that later, but we can stay on that now. Talk about professionalism in the business. One of the things, actually having a conversation with Ron, one of the things that he said that was most important when working with you was because of your professionalism and how you handle things and working harder than he had. And he had never seen an artist that worked harder than him. Why is that so important, being on time and making sure everything is right? Why is that important to you in doing that?
Wow. I think there are some artists that need to be managed and need to have their hands held and can't pick out their clothes, can't blow their nose. It's important that you know the business. You don't have to do everything, but you need to know about it. I think it's great to have a good team, and I know that my schooling and working in, I guess, corporate America has spilled over to that. Because what is the point of putting out all these albums? These albums are my kids, you know, so whenever someone listens to a song, and if they don't like it, it's like they pinched my child. It's like they slapped my kid. So I'm investing so much of me into this music that I need to make sure that things are running smoothly. I need to be at the gig. I need to make sure that the lighting is right, or the sound is right, or that the musicians are playing the music correctly. I've invested all of me in it.
Right. Well, let's go back a little bit into history, and I wanted you to talk about Michael Coppola and how you met him and started singing and doing your thing with him.
Wow, you went way back.
Yes.
Michael Coppola plays guitar in Connecticut, and when I lived in Connecticut, I actually used to sing at different bistros and coffee houses, and we did duet work, and he played guitar and I sang, and it was mainly straight ahead jazz. I was out on the road with Isaac Hayes. We did a show in Connecticut. I stayed for a while, and Mike and I recorded this album together in like 2 hours, because we just were in sync from the shows we used to do in Connecticut at the bistros and the coffee houses. And this is Guess Who I Saw Today. All straight ahead covers, Nancy Wilson, Dizzy Gillespie. So this was my very, very first album. And I love me some Mike Coppola.
Yeah. But so how did you meet Isaac Hayes? Like a legend, he's a legendary songwriter, a legendary performer. How did the meeting to be able to come and work with him and sing with him on the road?
That was all God.
All God.
I had nothing to do with that. I was actually working at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
Wow.
And I had sang at like an open mic at Cafe 290, and someone was playing keys, and they were jacking up the song. So I thought I sounded horrible. And I left, and I was telling my friend Kurt Mitchell, who plays bass, he plays with Isaac. I said, I'm never singing again. He ruined my reputation in Atlanta. I'm just not gonna sing. I'm just gonna do speech pathology. And so maybe a week went by, and I got a call from someone saying, would you like to tour with Isaac Hayes? You were referred. And I said, I don't think I can do that. I can't just leave my good paying job and just do a summer tour. And so I said, no, I can't do that. So I told my mom. About 3 days later, she said, are you crazy? You go tell those people you're about to tour in Europe, and they'll let you do that. So I said, all right. And sure enough, I told them that I got this great opportunity to be on the road with Isaac Hayes. And they said, oh, great, bring us a postcard. And then I was with him for 11 years. I didn't have to audition or anything. That was God.
Wow.
Nothing to do with me.
So what was it like traveling with him, going on the road and experiencing that? What was it like being with Isaac Hayes? And we're actually going to get to something a little bit later about that too, but what was it like traveling with him on the road?
Initially, it was a little intimidating. I grew up listening to his music, Walk On By, I Stand Accused, all that. And for the first couple years, he didn't even know my name, because I just kind of stayed away from him. And then, honestly, I wore this tight dress on the Today Show, and I walked past his dressing room, and then he was like, hey, what's your name? And so I would just be really shy with him. I was like, you don't know my name? Yeah, baby girl. I know your name, baby girl. I was like, no, it's not baby girl. When you learn my name, then we can have a conversation. And we just had this blossoming friendship, and he became like an uncle to me. But it was great being out on the road because I learned so much about the highs and the lows, just from lighting to stage to sound checks to there were times that sometimes we'd start a song and you couldn't hear any black background vocals in the house. And that happened on an Isaac Hayes show overseas. So I would see how he would handle that. And so I think I'm pretty nice to my musician friends. Yeah. And I think I learned a lot of that from him. He was so giving. He allowed me to sing a duet with him, Do Your Thing. Yeah. And he would shout out my CD. At that time, Breathe New Life was out. Right. And so he would shout out my website. He would say, you need to go buy her CD after the show. And how many artists do you know of his caliber that would allow you to do that? They don't want you to get your shine like that. He was like, what's the website? Tell him the website. Baby girl, tell him. Rhonda. Tell him the website. And so he was really, really cool, very professional, just like an uncle, a good spirit. And the main thing I miss about him is his laugh. Yeah. He had the best laugh. Yeah.
And now that song, Do Your Thing, that's actually the last song he actually recorded, right?
Actually, that's the last song he recorded with me. Right before he died, he recorded it with me, and that was supposed to be my breakout song. And he's like, I know you're gonna be leaving me soon because you've been with me 11 years. I wanna help you to get to the next level. We'll get this on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. I asked him if he would record it with me, and so he did, and then maybe a month later he passed away. And so his estate was kind of like the whole James Brown fiasco, and so I couldn't get the rights to it, even though he wanted me to have it. But I have it. I have the last recording that Isaac Hayes ever sang on. We did a duet. Wow. And we were going to put it on my Listen CD, but since I didn't get the rights, I sang over his parts, and I just did my part.
Well, let's talk about the first CD, your first project. It came out in 2004. It was all your material.
That's the second CD.
That's the second one. Well, one from the Micropolar, right? So
the first original.
Right, the first original. Talk about making that project here in Atlanta and what it was like to put that together, and actually some of the people you worked with, because you had Avery Sunshine, you worked with some different people on that one as well.
Let me see. I don't think Avery Sunshine was on this one. No, this is Breathe New Life.
Breathe New Life, yeah.
And the reason this one was so magical is because I found my voice in Atlanta. I sang a lot of cover tunes in Connecticut and New York. I sang a lot of Anita Baker, Phyllis Hyman, and it was great, and I loved that, and it helped me to hone my craft singing in different clubs. But in Atlanta, I hooked up with a group called Earthseed.
Right.
And Sirius B and Jiva and Donnie and India Irie came out of that group. And actually Kyrie is the head person in charge of Jiva. It is his group, and there were 4 vocalists, and I was one of the lead vocalists. Right. And I was listening to a lot of Incognito, Brand New Heavies back then. Okay. And I understood, hey, I can sing this jazz, I can sing this funk that I love, I can sing straight ahead, and I can sing R&B, and I can mix it all together. And I found my voice, and I term it unapologetically soul jazz. I know people get confused. They're like, do you sing straight ahead? Oh, that's that straight ahead jazz singer. Yeah, I do sing that. Oh no, that's that funk girl. That's the girl that sings, the R&B. I sing that too, but I've melded them together, and Atlanta helped me find my voice.
Nice. So let's move on to Live in Centennial Park. Talk about creating that project and what it was like to do that, because that's actually huge for an independent artist to create a live CD in that big of an area. So talk about making that.
Honestly, that was at a Wednesday Wind Down performance.
Really?
And at that time, Breathe New Life was out, and so I was performing songs from Breathe New Life, and we were able to record that live performance, put it on DVD, and that became the third project because I'm an entrepreneur and we gotta do this business. Ron Smith was actually the one that was the impetus for that.
Really? Okay.
He's my business partner. Hey Ron, give him some love.
Now, one of the things about your music that you find in almost every project that you do, there's always a message. It's not just about love or anything like that. There's always a message, whether you're singing to kids or writing a song about something. Why is that important to you to have a message in your music?
I don't think I intentionally think about writing a specific message. I think it just comes to me. My nieces are now 15 and 17, Mom. So when I was writing this music, they were youngins, like Nikayo's little ones here.
Right.
So I needed to make sure that I was responsible. When I was out on the road with Isaac Hayes, they used to call me the queen, because I was like one of two women out on the road, so there was no cursing a lot around me. They used to be like, "Ooh, I'm so sorry, queen, I'm so sorry." But I think that came from the responsibility that I felt I needed to project for my nieces. So I wrote a couple of songs that I thought were user-friendly and kid-friendly for them, and actually had them sing on some. My songs are based on my experiences or experiences of others. And so if someone takes a message or gets something from that, all the better.
Nice. Working in an industry where you're around a lot of guys, being on the road with a lot of guys, you're a musician, a lot of guys, and as a woman to have to maintain some kind of integrity, some kind of, is that difficult to do? Just like you're saying, on the road, you did a lot of cursing around you, a lot of like that. How does that work in an industry like this, where you could be out on the road with some guys and get real rough and get real raunchy and get kind of difficult? How do you deal with that?
Honestly, being out on the road with Isaac's group at the time that I was with him, some of them were performing with him since the 70s, since he won the Grammy on Shaq. So they were raw back then. They were getting bailed out of jail on the gigs. And I remember us traveling from city to city and the guitar player saying, "Oh, I used to be a pimp on that corner right there. All my hoes used to be over there, Rhonda." And I was like, "Okay." I'm so glad you're not doing that anymore. And so our road manager, he was real gruff. His name was Benny Mabo, God rest his soul. And he was gruff with us. And we used to say, "Dude, you don't have to be like that with us. You don't have to bail us out of jail today. You need to let that go." But he couldn't, because there was so much involved back then with what they were doing that was just so negative, that now they're seasoned. They had wives, they had kids, they had grandkids. Right. So the most that I got were all the great stories.
Oh, that's cool.
And not all of them were great. They would tell me how Tina Turner would get beat by Ike and stuff, because they lived all of that.
Right.
So they were just very respectful.
That's good. Tell us some of the knowledge that you got, to be around those guys who have been in the business at that time 30 years or more, and what have you done in your own music career going forward? What are some of the things you picked up from them that kind of helped you with what you're doing right now?
I would say making sure that that I have my own. I am, what did we say, Ron, with Atlanta Records? I'm partnered with Atlanta Records, so it's not like I'm signed to a label. And I retain my publishing. All of my money I put into my music, so I own it. I've co-written with different musicians. I'm so proud of Vinyl Days. I know we didn't get to that yet, and we will, so I can shout out my people. But I've learned that I don't want to make those mistakes that you see those artists on Unsung have done, because we should be able to learn from that.
Right.
And although music is that whole machine, it's definitely a machine. You got to have the publicist, the manager, the promoter. A lot of this information you do need to know for yourself. And so that's what I've learned, to be very mindful of that.
Okay. I'm gonna break on a funny story. I really want you to tell me about the time you met Michael Douglas, or in your words, Kirk Douglas, that you kept calling him.
You just told the story.
No, I want you to tell it, because Ron tells it was hilarious, but I want you to tell it from your side.
I don't know if it's that funny when I tell it, and I don't even know why he told you that. And you can erase this part from the tape. We were performing at, I think, the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
For a private function. And I was all dressed up, and I got on the elevator, and I saw Kirk Douglas. It looked like Kirk Douglas, but it was Michael Douglas. But I didn't know that, because he looks old. And so I didn't know, but I was so in awe, because I loved his movies. And I was like, "Kirk Douglas, it's you!" And the guys behind me were like, "No, it's Michael Douglas." But I didn't hear them. And clearly they were whispering or trying to set me up, because why wouldn't I have heard it? If you would have spoken louder, then I would have heard it. So he was so nice about it. I said, how's Catherine Zeta-Jones? And he was like, she's in New York. And I took a picture with him. And so they think that's the most hilarious story that they set me up like that. That's all.
Well, let's talk about your Christmas album that came out, Little Drummer Girl. It was actually on Centric's albums, 12 Christmas albums you should own. And on that list, you had the Boyz II Men Christmas album, you had Whitney Houston, Luther Vandross, and the only independent artist Christmas album that was listed was yours. That was huge. Talk about making that album and talk about the direction you wanted to go when you wanted to create that album.
That is such a funny story because actually Kyrie Cabral had come to me a little time before that and said, Rhonda, you really need to let me produce your album. And so we were talking about producing something that had this whole 70s vibe. And then Ron came to me and said, Rhonda, we've been talking about doing this Christmas album. You need to do the Christmas album. So we put this album on hold. And again, just divine intervention. We hooked up with my main man, my soul brother, my ace, Al Ross. Where are you, Al? There he is. He produced, mixed, mastered, wrote on the Christmas album. And I had to stretch a little bit because, and I've learned to stretch. I've learned that I don't have to have a hand in everything. He allowed me to have a really different direction on this album. Eric Roberson and I sang a duet on this album. Alex Lattimore and I sang a song on this one. And it just felt really, really good. Mark Nelson also wrote on this project, and Tony White. And I'm very proud of this.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great album.
Thank you.
Now, I don't want to hold people long because I know some of you may have questions, but let's go ahead and get into this Vinyl Days album right now. Let's talk about that. The new album that just dropped, that's out now. Hopefully you have it. If not, you can get it here tonight. I've been listening to it over the last couple days, like all day, 24 hours a day. That Speak Life single is ridiculous. If we have that queued up, can we play the Speak Life?
Where's Kipper Jones?
I don't know if
Kipper wrote that one with me. You should go to the end. Can you go to the end of the song for a minute?
Can you go to the end of the song? Can you like fast forward to the end? All right, that's Speak Life, y'all. Give a round of applause for that song.
The reason I had you go to the end is because this is a great opportunity to talk about how recording this song was a real Motown moment.
Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
The producers of this album, first of all, are Kyrie Cabral Simmons, Jazz IQ, and Julius Speed, who may have left. He was here. And so these three, I felt like Dorothy from The Wiz, for real. And we came together and talked about the vision that we wanted for this, and we wanted an 80s kind of boogie feel. Quincy Jones meets Patty Austin meets Michael Jackson Off the Wall. And we just wanted to bring that back because that's just such important music that stands the test of time. And the reason I mentioned Speak Life and how we were able to put that together in the studio is that Avery Sunshine Studio was right next to theirs. So she came over and she sang on the end of that song. My girl Cece sang on it. Mwah, love you, Cece. Donnie sang on the end of that. Freddie Boy, who sang background with me with Isaac Hayes, sang on that song. Kipper Jones, who wrote for Brandy, he wrote the song with me. Who am I missing from that? Donnie, Al. Al was on that song. Ron is on that song. So we were just kind of jamming at the end, and it just felt good. And nobody was talking about pay me this or pay me that. They just wanted to come in and be a part of something wonderful, and it felt good. And it felt like Motown, where you could hear the Pips on a song, or you could hear the Jackson 5 on somebody's song, or the Temptations. So we were able to just go full circle.
Well, nice. So let's talk about the first the single on here, Show Me How to Love You. What was the inspiration behind that song?
I won't say it was based on my relationship. Let's just say a friend. And being able to know that, I don't think you know who you are until you're in something else with somebody else. And you do have to know yourself in order to be with someone else.
Right.
But that person needs to know who they are too, and they can't shut you out. They need to know what they like, what they don't like, and it shouldn't be a guessing game. And so the lyrics are, I can't read your mind, I'm guessing. Stop wasting our time pretending. Let's make this a happy ending. Show me how to love you. So Kyrie, Daz, and Julius came up with the music, and I just loved that track, and so I just felt something and wrote to it.
Nice.
And Tony White helped me produce the vocals.
Yeah, actually Tony White worked with you a lot on this album with the.
He did.
With the
He did
vocal.
most of the vocal production. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida. He is Al Ross's brother-in-law. So see how we did that?
Yeah. Worked the family.
Yes, yeah. And I would drive to Jacksonville and record with him because he's that dope.
Nice. Now, here's one thing. There's a song on here, song number 7 called Oh Yeah. A beautiful track, but what's amazing about it is actually you sung half of it in Portuguese.
I did. I'll be performing that one today.
Nice.
Yeah, I just felt like I wanted something ethnic. I was sitting in my driveway and it was raining, and I just heard this groove. I heard this vibe, and I was singing, make me say oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, make me say oh, yeah. And I really didn't have the words, but I was kind of making something up. And so I knew it needed to be in another language. So a friend of mine, Raphael, how do you say Raphael's last name? Pereira, yes. He helped me a little bit with my Portuguese. So I was singing, me faz dizer, yeah, yeah, oh, oh, me faz dizer, yeah. And I know Ron is like, why are you singing it? Because you're going to sing it in a minute. So you'll hear it with my musician.
Being able to work with these guys, Cabrera, Daz IQ,
Kyrie Cabral.
I like to say his middle name first.
But it's
I know it's Kyrie
Cabral.
Cabral. Why is this?
Carrera, Cabral.
I was like Cabral. That's what I first heard. It was Cabral, but it's Cabral.
See how I look out for you, Kyrie?
See, you look out. So it's
I'm just
Cabral.
saying, don't say I never did anything for you.
Oh, that's messed
Because I
up.
could have let him just say Cabral
Cabral was that's
all
what I-
day.
See, just like you called him Kirk Douglas instead of Michael Douglas, I was saying. See, that could have been my moment.
You're right. My bad.
No, but working with these guys, having to hear into such a talent and to be able to sit with them and just, tell them the direction you want to go and they're able to take it. What is that experience like? Because the talent that is in Atlanta, I don't think people understand the richness of it and what we have here. So for you to have access to it, talk about that and that process.
We got to record all this music at 800 East, which is kind of like a co-op. Thank you. It's like a co-op. There's all these different musicians that just filter in and out there, and there's such a positive vibe and energy there that you can't help but create and grow. And so I have a kindred spirit with all three of these gentlemen. Daz and I are both, our families are from Antigua, West Indies.
Okay.
And so we have that connection. And like I said, I met Kyrie when I first moved here in 1996. And Julius Speed, I call him J Shades because he was always wearing glasses, and so now everybody calls him J Shades. And they're just brilliant in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest thing was trying to keep them on track in the studio because they could hear something and just start talking about any song from any period and start playing it, and it was just so much fun.
It was a
And
lot of fun.
they could be professional and get the job done, but we could still play around and grow and just have fun.
That's nice. Talk about the song Council's Made of Sand. That's a special song because it was written by your cousin, right?
Right, it's the only song on the album that I did not write. My cousin wanted me to record that some years ago on the Listen CD, but we didn't get to do it then, and so we recorded it on this CD, and we wanted it to have like a Phyllis Hyman kind of vibe, and the guys helped me to create that. I must have sung that at least 5 times trying to get it right, and I was trying to channel Phyllis, and so I think we got it right. People really like that overseas. We're going to perform that one today.
Oh, you performed it. So
yeah.
You performed
I saw what you were doing.
Right. But I want to play. Are you performing 102 beats?
Yes.
Okay. I can't play that one. Let's play Reach, the 8 track. Oh, we can't play that.
Reach and see how far your mind. Stretch and see how far your mind will take you. Reach and see how far your mind. Stretch and see how far your mind will go. Reach and see how far your mind. Stretch and see how far your mind will set you free. Just believe there's no home here for your doubts. No home for all your fears to reside. They can't survive if you... I think that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
I forgot the words.
Give it up for that.
Actually, I wrote that song for my nieces because I thought it was positive and I wanted them to know that they could reach and do anything that they wanted to.
Nice.
And if anything was at their reach, it was tangible, they just had to work hard and make it happen.
Wonderful. How many of you have seen Rhonda perform live? Like, seen her perform? That's awesome. To be what some people may consider a straight jazz artist, when I tell you you get down on the stage, I mean you get down on the stage. I've seen you go to the ground many a times. I mean, you give such a tremendous presence on stage. You really give it to the crowd. You're not someone that just stands there and kind of sings, but you really, is that coming from, being a dancer in the background, or is it just part of your blood to just kind of give all that on stage?
Both, A and B.
Okay.
No offense, Mom, but my dad used to jam. He still dances. He loves to dance. At my high school graduation, I sang Everything Must Change. My parents were arguing because he wanted me to step from behind the podium. I was singing, everything must change, nothing stays the same. And I sang the whole song, and they were arguing because he said, you didn't take the mic out of the stand, you're supposed to work the crowd, work the crowd. Right. And so she said, she can't do that, it's a graduation. I was like, come on, guys, come on. So he was definitely about the showmanship.
Okay.
And making sure you connect with the audience. And to this day, a lot of times I will step out into the crowd, and my mother hates that because I think she thinks I'm gonna get stabbed or something out in the park. And she wants me to be regal like Nancy Wilson. Nancy Wilson wouldn't go out in the park and walk around. She would stand there and be graceful. So I try to mix the two because you gotta make both of them happy. It's too much.
Right. I understand.
Way too much.
Yes, way too much. With this album, what do you want people to get when you created this project? And even we were talking about how, like you said earlier, Michael Jackson's Off the Wall was kind of your inspiration for the flow of how it flows and stuff like that. What do you want people to get from this album when they listen to it?
I want them to feel good. I want them to be able to be transported from another era to this era, but for it to feel classic, but not dated. I want them to know that this is feel-good music, it's boogie music. There's that song I was singing, Reach, even though we can't play it, it has a Natalie Cole kind of La Costa vibe to it. The musicianship, the live instrumentation is really, really important, and I want you all to recognize all the musicians that had a part on this album. Meant a lot to me. When D'Angelo came out with Black Messiah recently, that was great because I can piggyback on that, and he brought that whole live instrumentation aspect to his album, and he's keeping it real. Whether you like the album or you don't, whether you think it's too vibey, he did what he wanted to do, and I applaud him for that.
That's wonderful. Now I'm gonna turn this into a family affair, and I'm gonna ask Daz IQ to come up front, and I'm gonna ask Kyrie Cabral to please come up front as well. Al Ross, why don't you come over here too? Come on, guys. I would ask Donnie, but I don't want to get in trouble.
Hey, Donnie.
Hey, Donnie, how you doing?
Hey, Shonda.
Hey, give it up for Donnie, who's back there. I want these guys to come up here. We don't get a chance to, actually, I don't think we've ever got a chance to do this. But I want these guys to kind of talk about Rhonda themselves. You know, we talk about producers and artists and we appreciate what they do, but they don't get a chance to talk about working with the artists. So I'm gonna let these guys talk about what it was like to make this album.
Be kind. You're on film. Be nice.
You know. Well, first time I met Rhonda was actually at a gig, I can't remember where. The first thing I noticed is her performance was immaculate and great, you know, so it was just like the way she just brought the crowd to her and everything like that. So when I first heard her voice, I said, she sounds like Phyllis Hyman, Angela Bofield. She's like that grown, that real soul music female vocalist that used to be back in the day, you know. You listen to and, you know, like the Jones Girls, Patti LaBelle, reminiscent of that. And I said, I would love to work with this lady. And when the opportunity came around, we actually were vibing. We were listening, I was playing all those tunes, I was playing all those rare groove tunes as well. And I said, yeah, this is kind of the directions I see you in. And Karen came in with the whole Quincy Jones side of it as well. And it was just like, I think that's going to be work. When everything came to the conclusion that, you know, 1981 was the year that we were looking at. That was the kind of the fall, between 79 and 83. And because that's all feel good, during that time, it's all feel good music, you know. That was the time that Earth, Wind & Fire put out Let's Groove Tonight. That's when the time of like Stephanie Mills came out with What You Gonna Do With My Lovin', and that's the time that, you know, Phyllis Hyman came out with Don't You Love Me? You say, don't Tell Me, Tell Her. And that whole album with Don't You Know What My Lovin' Is? I think it was, I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. You don't know, anyway.
I'm trying to think of the song.
Yeah, well, I do, you know, it's a DJ, you know, so, but no, for me, when you came to work with her, it was the ultimate pleasure working with you.
You know how to love me.
That's the one.
There's no denying.
That's the one.
You know how to make that.
Yeah, that's the tune.
That was gonna bother me.
That's the tune. That's when early M2 made productions, you know, so that's it. That's when I heard your voice, that's what came to me straight away.
And we met at Mau Mau?
No, we met in London, the Jazz Refreshed.
Oh, yeah. At Mau Mau?
Mau Mau. That's where I met, the first time I met a lot of the Atlanta cats.
You were
you know,
at the Jazz
and you did the Atlanta takeover at Jazz Cafe, but you had your own gig.
Right.
By the way, Adam Rock and Top Rock said from Jazz Refreshed says hello.
Tell him I said
And
hello
can't wait to get you back over. Anyway,
Awesome.
so when we got down to finishing off the album, it was amazing. You know, that's all I have to say. Anyway, I've got no more to say. I'll talk too much.
Not at all. So I guess so Rhonda, it was 97, right?
I moved here in 96, so yeah, probably maybe in 97.
Right, okay, so Rhonda joined Jiva in 97 when Earthseed and everything was going on. So when it came time to do this album, it was different because sometimes when Daz and I produce, so we produce, you know, our own stuff. So there are Daz records and there are Kyrie records. Mm-hmm. But when it's time to do that for an artist, there are two things that we try to do, and it might kind of contradict kind of saying it, but the first one is having a bit of transparency for an artist so that you can really see how they're coming in the door, so you can really see where they are now and not necessarily judge them off of other records that they've done, but see, you know, who they are and where they are and what they are now. And I think if you can be transparent or just open and receptive, you can kind of listen to see exactly where the project that you're going to do together will go. With Rhonda, because I had known her for so long, and because, you know, like Rhonda and like Shonda and like so many other people I work with, their voices in my head are like colors. So probably like a painter might do a picture, and the picture is going to be heavy, or it's going to feature yellow, and whether that yellow is a small dot or whether yellow takes up 2/3 of that painting, they know that there's a color to be featured, but that color is actually pronounced or brought out by the other colors that are around it, and that actually makes you notice it. So I think for me, and then ultimately for us, we felt like Rhonda has a quality to her voice that a lot of people don't have, where Rhonda can sing a lot of that music that we like or grew up on, and she really does it. It's almost like Donnie, right? Like Donnie, there's stuff Donnie can do, right? Donnie can do what Trey Songz did, right? Trey Songz shouldn't ever even think about doing anything off the colored section, right? Right. So for example, that, right? So in that, because there's that thing, right? That everybody is their own person, everybody has their own beauty, and everybody's supposed to do their own thing. So it's not a diss on him or anything like that. I don't want to get called a musical snob again or anywhere or anything like that. But for Rhonda, I think that like Daz was saying, there's so much of that good boogie, and there's so much of that good jazz funk and soul music and all that was going on between 78 and 83. And we felt like there's not a lot of people that could really do that and would really do that and really knock it out like Rhonda. So when we had that concept, and she actually came to us with that, she actually was very open. And Rhonda's a Virgo, so she has that perfectionist thing. And I'm a Pisces, so I can let something be a little loose sometimes. But she is quite the perfectionist,
Ridiculous.
Yes, which was actually good for us in doing this record. But the great thing was, I think that her work ethic is so strong. And the other thing is because she allowed us as painters to take her, knowing that she would be that dominant color, and to add these colors around so that she would stand out brilliantly. The fact that she really trusted us to do that, I think, was the great thing. So it was a beautiful process, but not a new one, because we're family, we work together all the time.
Thank you.
Felt like I should have gone first. We're celebrating the final days. Working with Rhonda was very, very intimidating, because the first project she brought me was the Isaac Hayes remix. That was the first thing we worked on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So she finished recording that with me, and I was very intimidated. So I had Kurt, I had Joy,
Kurt Mitchell on bass.
yeah, Kurt. I had White Chocolate.
Chris.
Chris. I had Chris.
I don't call him White Chocolate.
Anyway, moving to the Christmas album. I'm sorry, that was a stripper name. The Christmas album was a blessing. The Christmas album was a blessing to me. Working with Rhonda, because Ron brought it to me and was like, "Yo, we want to create this vibe. It's timeless." He gave me the concept of Mr. Mistletoe. And so my partner, Mark Nelson, we got together, and we came up with our own version of Mr. Mistletoe. We ended up calling it just Mistletoe. And it was a pleasure that Eric Robeson, I had a chance to, this was my first time working with Eric Robeson. And he lit it up for us. And it just opened it up for when we got together with Rhonda and wrote the song, it just blossomed.
I wrote my verse.
Rhonda wrote her verse. Anyway, long story short, and she was actually the first artist in Atlanta to even give me a shot of working on a project with her. So that blossomed out to me working with other people. So, you know, to Rhonda, thank you.
We're going to open it up from the audience. Do you guys have any questions for Rhonda? I don't want to take up too much of the time, but we want to open it up if you guys had any questions before we go into the performance. So, anybody got any questions? Yes, I do. Okay. going in right now. Wow.
I'm scared.
And it's on my side. I just. Morris in the morning wakes me up and gets me going. Oh, these voices. This is a long question. Brightens my mood, breathe new life in me, new life in me. All right. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, maybe I should explain what he's doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's from the Breathe New Life album, and
What's going on right
Al
there?
Smith wrote the music to that particular song, and that's the title track of this album. Then later I changed the lyrics, myself and Tyrone Gregg, who produced this album with me, and it became Morris in the Morning's morning show song on WCLK.
Right.
And so a lot of people, whenever they hear Breathe New Life, they're like, isn't that Morris in the Morning song? So this gentleman right here, he was getting it. You got all of that, right? All of that. That you can keep in.
Song and dance. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody?
You touring soon? You plan to put together
Okay.
a tour?
Actually, we've been doing individual spot gigs highlighting this album. We were just at the Apollo Cafe in New York on February 13th, Valentine's weekend, which was a dream come true because I got to go back to the Apollo after winning amateur night at age 16, and my family and friends were in the audience. It was a sold out show. The band was awesome, and I got to perform songs from this. Last weekend we were at the Piano Hollywood. Yes, at the Hard Rock Casino in Miami. And we'll be at the BU Cafe in Durham, North Carolina on March 20th. And then we'll have another listening party like this the next day in Charlotte, North Carolina at Sports One.
Nice.
And if you'd like us to come to a city near you, and you know a promoter or a club or a venue, see Mr. Ron Smith, and we can make that happen.
Gentlemen, Neil?
What's your favorite track on Vinyl Days, and what's currently on your iPod playlist?
Ooh, nice question. Okay. My favorite track is Oh Yeah, which I'm gonna perform today because I love the Four Heroes vibe of it. You probably don't know Four Heroes, but if you hear the song, it's in that vein. And I love that I'm singing the Portuguese on that song. It just takes it to another level. I just like the vibe, and I love all the harmonies on it. On my iPod, Gregory Porter, Fela, I'm trying to think of some people. D'Angelo, who else is on there? You know what? I have some guilty pleasures too, because maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe I should. It's not that bad. You know, sometimes I just love, I love classic hip hop because I love Tribe Called Quest and all of that, but sometimes you just hear a little turn down for what? You know, you need some of that. And you need a little, no, you do, you need that. But that's not on my iPod, but I like that. Different, yeah, different. Roll up on the scene with my cylinder missing. You need some of that.
I was gone, my bad. Right. You need a little bit of that.
And that helps to just add to, you know, what motivates me, what moves me. I'm led by all of those different styles of music, so don't judge me. Don't judge me, Greg.